Okay, we're now live on YouTube, and let me just share my screen again, and we can get started. All right, how's that look? There you go.
It's up there. Okay, so we're live, we're recording on YouTube, and we're ready to go. And so welcome everybody to the April 6, 2021 City Council meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I would like to ask for the first order of business for everyone to stand. And please, I'll ask Mr. St. Hilaire if he'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
To the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty, and justice for all.
Perfect. And if we could have Mr. Palma, please lead us in a prayer.
Yes, sir. Let's all pray today. Our Father in heaven, blessed be your name. Father, today we pray for all the students to give them the peace and the strength to overcome any negative thoughts this virus have created in their mind. Please open doors so they can come back to school classrooms. And also, Father, we pray for the teachers. Keep them in good health so they can feel safe to go back to schools. Please help us to overcome all these crises that we have been going through, and let us see all this come to pass. We pray for the whole world and for the families. Bring them your love upon them. Father, we pray for our city, for every one of us, for our families, for our mayor, his health and wisdom, for the election coming up in November. Please, Father, give us the wisdom to understand what will be your plans of blessings for our city, our nation. Father, all this we pray because we believe you are the God who can make all the impossible possible. And you are the one who can help us to keep walking our way ahead to see all this come to pass and everything to become normal again. Father, bless everyone who is in this meeting today and help us to understand your will. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you.
Amen. Wonderfully done, Mr. Palma. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alves.
Present.
Alves.
Present.
Zaid.
Present.
Mike Esposito.
Present.
Levy.
Present.
Salvatore.
Present.
Stanley.
Here.
Haversack.
Here.
Fox.
Present.
Priola.
Here.
Henry.
Present.
DiGiulio.
Here.
Rotello.
Here.
Visconti. Visconti. No, Frank.
Here.
Visconti. Okay. Palma.
Present.
Knapp.
Here.
John Esposito.
Here.
Santos.
Here.
Perkins.
Present.
Chinese.
Present.
Kamiza.
Here.
And Molinaro.
Here.
21 present.
Let the record reflect that there's 21 members present, 0 absent. We're going to move into announcements. I have a few announcements this month. On April 15th, it will be Frank Salvatore's wedding anniversary. Congratulations, Mr. Salvatore.
Congrats.
Mayor, can we have the screen put up?
April
Oh, I'm getting
25th.
it.
April 25th, we have Warren Levy's birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Levy.
Mute me.
We have Mr. DiGiulio's wedding anniversary on April 28th. And we have Mr. Visconti's wedding anniversary on April 29th. It's a hot month for weddings. All right. Just a couple of announcements. Due to the COVID situation, we decided again not to have the Clean City Danbury Day because of the pandemic. And folks handling other people's personal items from their homes. We just didn't think that April would be enough time for us to get that done. But what we did do is we set up an arrangement with Oak Ridge, and Oak Ridge is offering deep discounts on dumpster rentals. And so if you go to the city website, you can look it up there. There's all the information about the program, and we're going to keep Danbury beautiful, hoping that people will maybe go in on a dumpster rental with a couple of neighbors and split the cost and get rid of their bulk waste at home and have Oak Ridge come and drop the dumpster and pick it up and take it away. So there's information on the city website, information on the city social media page, and you can call the mayor's office if you have any other questions. So that all month of April. So that's good for the whole month of April. On April 8th, we're having a virtual only event for autism awareness flag raising for Danbury Autism Awareness on Facebook at 5 p.m. And on April 22nd, it's Earth Day. So those are the announcements I have for the month. If anybody has any questions, they certainly can reach out to the mayor's office with any questions, comments, or concerns. We're going to go into the public comment section. We have 2 public comments tonight. One submitted by Tom Brown, 10 Valerie Lane, Danbury. Agenda item number 18, department reports, city engineer and highway department. The Biden administration is moving forward with a $2 trillion infrastructure plan. Does Danbury have shovel-ready infrastructure projects not currently budgeted that could be funded by the Biden plan? Specifically, do we have a comprehensive list of city streets that identifies the condition of each street with an assigned priority for repair or replacement? Number 2, could federal funds replace the $250,000 that was recently taken from the paving budget to fund a traffic light timing study? Tamarack Avenue and Valerie Lane are getting worse every day. Number 3, included in the Biden infrastructure plan is an expansion of a broadband internet coverage. Could the wireless project contemplated by the previous city administration be revived and made ready for the Biden plan? Respectfully submitted, Tom Brown. Letter number 2 is from Gladys Cooper, and the subject is the Board of Education budget. Good evening. In order to provide all children with an excellent education, the Board of Education, along with students and community members, asked the mayor and the Common Council to fully fund the Danbury Board of Education, step up, stand tall, and be leaders for education that this community elected. The students are already here. More are coming. Thank you, Gladys Cooper, Chairperson, Danbury Board of Education. And so that's what we have for public comment tonight. And now it's the moment we've all been waiting for, the budget address. Okay. City Council President DiGiulio, honorable leaders and members of the City Council, city officials, department directors, employees, and the residents and taxpayers of Danbury. In accordance with my duties as mayor and those prescribed by the charter of the city of Danbury, I respectfully submit the proposed operating budget and the comprehensive capital improvement plan for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. I would like to take a moment to thank and recognize the members of our legislative body of our city, the City Council, and its leadership. Our city spends a significant amount of time, our city council spends a significant amount of time each month on a strictly volunteer basis, working on the city's business, and we are grateful for their time and dedication to our community. For the City Council, the month of April is especially busy as they will be working most evenings and weekends to thoughtfully review this coming fiscal year's spending plan. I also need to recognize and say thank you to our Director of Finance, David St. Hilaire, Assistant Finance Director, Dan Garrick, and the entire finance team for the time and talent that is clearly demonstrated by the magnitude of this proposal and their attention to details. The COVID pandemic hit our Danbury community fast and disproportionately harder as compared to other communities since the beginning of the pandemic. The state of Connecticut has had 729 positive COVID cases, and 7,930 associated deaths. In the city of Danbury, there have been 12,195 positive COVID-19 cases and 184 associated deaths. The city of Danbury is still considered in the red zone in the state of Connecticut. The state's current infection rate is 5%, and the city of Danbury's current infection rate is 6.4%. To ensure a superior quality of life for our Danbury community, we must first secure the safety of those who live in and visit our city. This unwavering dedication and bravery is demonstrated by the heroic response by every one of our first responders during this COVID-19 crisis. With all our hearts, Danbury says thank you. We're going to give thanks to our health department team under the leadership of Kara Prunty. We have distributed 12,685 vaccines since the start of our vaccine clinic at Rogers Park Middle School, started on December 23rd, 2020. The city clinic has worked with first responders, public school teachers, and staff, child care centers, AmeriCares, and community groups to ensure that there is equitable access to the COVID-19 vaccine here in Danbury. Vaccines in our community have also been supported through the Veterans Administration, CIFC, Nuvance Health, CHC, who is now aiming to vaccinate 1,000 individuals a day at the Danbury Fair Mall site. We are grateful to each of our community partners for helping our residents get through this pandemic. While we are making progress, the state of Connecticut is seeing increases in the number of COVID-19 cases, as is Danbury. We cannot stress enough how important it is to remain vigilant. And we urge you to continue to wear a mask, wash your hands frequently, avoid large crowds, and be sure to stay socially distant. We kindly ask for your patience, understanding, and as always, to share your suggestions for improvements with us. City Hall is open by appointment only at this time to conduct your city business. At some point in the near future, you will be able to visit City Hall and other city buildings without appointments. However, we still encourage you to visit the city's website to conduct city business online whenever possible. The fiscal year 2021-2022 budget demonstrates a heightened sensitivity and awareness during this COVID-19 pandemic and the resulting national economic crisis, and takes into serious consideration the potential tax burden on those who own property within the city of Danbury. This budget plan will continue to prioritize investments in public safety, education, and infrastructure, investing and in developing a cost-effective plan for the delivery of these municipal services has been a necessary but arduous task. The fiscal year 2021-2022 budget plan illustrates that we are preparing for future growth and progress of the city while not burdening the taxpayers with a tax increase. For the third year in a row, no more will be asked of the Danbury taxpayers for city services. There will be no increase to the water or sewer rates either. Despite financial uncertainties, we remain committed to emphasizing the policies and objectives that have resulted in the city of Danbury being recognized nationally as one of the top 50 most livable cities in America. The city of Danbury is much more resourceful and prudent in our decision-making because we have and had to rethink how we do business in response to an unreliable or flat revenues from the state due to their financial situation and our national economic crisis. This budget totals $267 million, an increase of $5 million or 1.9%, which is well within the state of Connecticut's mandated 2.5% spending cap on municipal budgets. Regardless of the current national financial crisis, the city remains steadfast on preserving the quality of life of our citizens by, first and foremost, keeping Danbury affordable. Continuing maintenance and repair of drainage, road improvement projects, water and sewer upgrades and replacements, bridge and sidewalk improvements, and public works and public safety upgrades. Maintaining school buildings with ongoing roof repair projects, technology improvement programs, and investing in efficient HVAC systems. Improving our transportation network with vehicle upgrades and fleet additions, upgrading parks and recreational facilities, playgrounds, and parks with safety measures and exterior repairs. Creating and expanding a new educational space such as the proposed Career Academy to meet the demand of our current and future student population. The Board of Education's fiscal year 2021-2022 budget includes a $1.25 million increase to the Board of Education in annual funding for a total of $136.9 million, $214,000 for Head Start and $208,000 for education, health, and welfare, for a total direct funding for education of $137.4 million. The Board of Education had a $3.5 million surplus in last year's budget, which will be used for fiscal year 2021-2022 budgetary needs, as well as monies from the Alliance grant funding and an additional $5.1 million from the Elementary and Secondary School Relief Fund, ESSER2. With the funding from these three sources considered, the total increase to the Board of Education funding will be $9.8 million. It is also important to note there's an additional $7.5 million of indirect funding related to debt service, $4.2 million for that. Pension costs for non-certified Board of Education eligible employees at $2.5 million, and the waiver of the annual charge for city services like field maintenance at a cost of $353,845. Additionally, $38 million from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 has been allocated to the Danbury Board of Education, and additional funding remains to be allocated from the CARES Act. Employee wage and benefits budget is $91.2 million. This is an increase of $3.3 million for employees' wages and benefits, including retirees. Budgetary increases will also go to promotional and step increases, health, dental, prescription, workers' compensation, disability, retiree benefits, and other post-employment benefits. All bargaining agreements, with the exception of the police union, expired on June 30th, 2020. Given the economic downturn, no contractual wage increases were included for contracts that had expired on June 30th, 2020. Debt service budget is $17.7 million, an increase of $500,000. The city is anticipating a refunding sale in May 2021. It's important to note that since 2010, the city has realized $6.6 million in interest savings with 7 bond refunding sales. ADEC, actuarially determined employer contributions, will see an increase of $1.1 million to maintain sufficient funding of the city's pension plan, with $500,000 coming from the assigned fund balance for pension. Capital projects funding will see a decrease of $559,000 from last year's budget. This is one of my favorite slides. It's always been since my time on the council. So much more impactful to us, I think, than the pie chart. It clearly illustrates how we spend each dollar we take in. As you can tell, on the city side, we are very lean. City side's a very lean budget, with 51.4% of every dollar going to the Board of Education, followed by 15.7% for pension and other benefits, and 14.7% for public safety. Here, the next slide shows you some key replacements from the public safety budget. They're by all means not all of them. You'll have a better description in your budget book, but we're going to continue with the vehicle replacement program in the PD, communications equipment replacement, and the body camera implementation. For fire, we're going to replace tool. We have chief has presented a replacement tool program, and we're going to continue with the very successful apparatus replacement program that we've used for many, many years. And during the COVID pandemic, one of the things that we realized in City Hall was that our EOC is not as modern as it needs to be, and we're going to make a significant investment in renovating the Emergency Operations Center for the city of Danbury. It's a long time coming, thanks to Matt Kesavecchia's direction, we'll be moving that forward in this budget. In conclusion, I wish to extend a sincere thank you to all of our department heads and city staff involved in the development of the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget. And I deeply appreciate your hard work, thoroughness, and diligence. Additionally, I would like to thank the City Council, members in advance for their understanding during the development of the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, which continues to be more complex from the impact of the COVID pandemic affecting changes in the past, in the present, and into the future. Most importantly of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to my colleagues and the citizens of Danbury for the warm welcome and the outpouring of support as I assumed the duties of mayor of the city of Danbury in December of 2020. It is truly the highest honor of my life. Be well, stay safe, and may God continue to bless these United States and this great city of Danbury.
Yeah, you're well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we'll move off into the minutes. Mr. President, the minutes, please.
Yes, Your Honor. I move that we waive the reading of the minutes as all members have copies and copies on file in the Legislative Assistant's office.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Perkins. Under any discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of adopting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Majority Leader, can I have the consent calendar, please?
Your Honor, the April 6, 2021 consent calendar consists of the following. Item 8, receive a communication and confirm the appointment of Wilma O'Leary to the Board of Assessment and Appeals. Item 10, receive the communication and confirm the appointment of Jason Eriquez as the alternate member of the Zoning Commission. Your Honor, that is the consent calendar for April 6, 2021.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move at this time to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Seconded by Mr. Tabersack. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. Consent calendar adopted. Okay, Madam Clerk, item number 1.
Ordinance and resolution. An ordinance making appropriation for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022, and a resolution levying the property tax for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, Council?
Your
Mr.
Honor.
Knapp? Mr. Knapp?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to receive the communication and refer this to public comments.
Okay, seeing no objection, is so moved. Folks, just so you're aware, the 13th of April, we'll be hosting a workshop by Zoom for the budget at 6 p.m. Okay, Madam Clerk, item number 2.
Ordinance, an ordinance appropriating $3 million for public improvements in the 2021-2022 capital budget and authorizing the issuance of $3 million bonds of the city to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose.
Okay, what's your pleasure, Council? Mr. Priola.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to receive the communication and refer this item for public comment, followed by a committee of the whole.
Okay, seeing no objection, so ordered. Madam Clerk, item 3.
Ordinance, senior tax freeze.
What's your pleasure, counsel? Mrs. Stanley?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to receive the communication and refer this for public comment, followed by the committee of the whole.
Okay, seeing no objection, that is so moved. Item number 4.
Resolution, downtown special service district tax levy.
What's your pleasure, counsel?
Your Honor.
Mr. DiGiulio?
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to receive this communication and table this item.
Okay. Seeing no objection to tabling item number 4, we'll move to number 5.
Communication, bond issue for the Danbury Academy.
Okay.
Your Honor.
Yes. Who said
Vinny.
that? Oh,
I-
Mr. DiGiulio.
Yes, I move to receive that. I'd like to receive that communication and refer it to a public comment as well as a committee of the whole.
Okay. Seeing no objection, it is so ordered.
6.
Item number 6, appointments to the police department. Madam Clerk?
Communication, appointments to the police department. Dear council members, I hereby submit for your confirmation the appointment of the following individuals to the position of police officer in the Danbury Police Department. Mr. Christopher Campanaro. Mr. Campanaro is working toward a bachelor's degree from Western Connecticut State University with 3 years of credits currently completed. He has worked as a physical trainer for youth, and he is currently CPR/AED certified. Mr. Campanero's rank on the current entry-level police offers eligibility list is number 2, and he is scheduled to attend the Connecticut Post Academy in April 2021.
Thank you. What's your pleasure? Mr. Esposito, Mr. Mike Esposito.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to make a motion to receive the correspondence and confirm the appointment of Mr. Christopher Campanaro to the position of police officer in the Danbury Police.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion's been made and I didn't catch who seconded that.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
We'll go Mr. Esposito, John Esposito seconding that motion. Thanks, Mr. Esposito. Okay. All those, I'll try your minds, all those in favor of the appointment of Mr. Christopher Campanaro to the police department, please signify by aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? The ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Second is Mr. DeAndre Perkins. Mr. Perkins has been working full-time as a property manager for the past 3 years. He has also been working 2 other part-time jobs as a hospitality representative and as a deli clerk for the past year. He served in the Connecticut Army National Guard for the past 5 years as an infantryman, earning the rank of specialist, which is E4. Mr. Perkins' rank on the current entry-level police officer eligibility list is number 3, and he is scheduled to attend the Connecticut Post Academy in April of 2021.
Okay, what's your pleasure, counsel? Mrs. Stanley.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to receive the communication and confirm the appointment of Mr. DeAndre Perkins to the position of police officer in the Danbury City Police Department.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Molinaro. Thank you, Mr. Molinaro. Okay, any discussion on the appointment of Mr. Perkins? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk.
The third is Mr. Christopher Spinato. Mr. Spinato holds a bachelor's degree in justice and law administration with a minor in psychology from Western Connecticut State University, and he has been working as the security site supervisor at the Danbury Fair Mall for the past 3 years. Mr. Spinato's rank on the current entry-level police officer eligibility list is number 6, and he is scheduled to attend Connecticut Post Academy in April 2021.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, counsel? Mr. Henry,
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to receive the communication and confirm the appointment of Mr. Spinato to the position of police officer in the City of Danbury Police Department at this time.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded by Mrs. Stanley. Under discussion. Being none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of the appointment of Mr. Spinato to the Danbury Police Department, please signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, great. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk.
Number 4 is Mr. Christopher Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez is currently enrolled in his senior year at Western Connecticut State University and is anticipated graduating in May 21 with a bachelor's degree in justice and law administration. He has been employed part-time as a compliance officer with the Danbury Health Department for almost 2 years, focusing on compliance of businesses, hotels, and restaurants and bars with COVID-19 regulation for the past 6 months. He previously served as an active volunteer firefighter in Danbury for 1.5 years. He completed a 150-hour internship for his degree program with the Office of the Mayor, as well as a privately arranged internship at the Federal Correction Institute in Danbury, serving as a re-entry mentor for male prisoners preparing for release. He is certified in adult and child first aid, CPR, and AED, and as a peer educator, has completed DCF mandated reporter training. Mr. Rodriguez's rank on the current entry-level police officer's eligibility list is number 16, and he is scheduled to attend Connecticut Post Academy in April of 2021. These qualified individuals bring a broad range of valuable skills and experience to the Danbury Police Department. They will be a tremendous asset to the department and to the citizens of Danbury. Thank you for your consideration of these appointments. Sincerely, Joseph M. Cabo, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. What's your pleasure on Mr. Rodriguez? Ms. Camisa, Mrs. Camisa.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to accept the communication and confirm the appointment of Mr. Christopher Rodriguez to the position of police officer in the Danbury Police Department.
Second. Motion's been made, I think seconded by Mr. Rotello. Under discussion, Mr. Rodriguez.
Hello?
Mr. Dabrasak?
Yes, when I saw the 4 police officers, their qualifications, I noticed we always end with where their rank is on the eligibility list and all. And so I was wondering, I had a question, and it was answered for me by the chief and by somebody in what would it be, the human resources, about just how the system works and how the eligibility list works. And what I got was pretty much the fact that you go up you go to the lowest one, but a lot of people drop out of the consideration. Some people are like just decide not to do it anymore. Some people don't do well on the psychological tests they give and so forth. And looking at the overall picture, I feel they're all qualified, but I just want to say that it's because of the things before the eligibility listing. It seems to me that it's like an education. Testing doesn't always put you in just how well you'll succeed in the practical world. So I just want to say thank you to the police chief and to the person in human resource. I think her name was Nellie. And I certainly will support this, but I think it's very good to know just that there is the procedure, it's followed, and 16, and I was told number 16 could be right now number 5 or 6 if you just moved everything down the list, taking out the people who have been eliminated one way or another. So I just think that's that number is has to be understood. Okay.
Mr. Tarasak, you have a tremendous grasp of the process. The only thing that I would add to that is that one of the other factors that affect these lists are how old they are. And so this list is already 18 months old. And so there's been a lot of process in 18 months with officers, and that's why this tends to happen. So, but you definitely have it down to a science, Mr. Tarasak. Thank you. Any other discussion on Mr. Rodriguez? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of the appointment of Mr. Rodriguez to the Danbury Police Department, please signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. That's congratulations to all four of these gentlemen for being appointed to the PD. All right, item 7, Madam Clerk.
Communication, Head Start Program / CIFC, 80 Main Street. Dear council members, by correspondence from Connecticut Institute for Communities, CEO James Maloney, the Head Start program presently taking place in our 4 classrooms at Laurel Garden site at 385 Main Street needs to relocate. CIFC is asking if they can use space for these relocated classroom programs in the old jail facility at 80 Main Street, where they not only have a 2013 plus lease and a letter agreement dated April 9, 2015 with Danbury, allowing for specific uses, but where they currently have 1 early childhood space in operation. The proposal includes the conversion of the WIC program office space now in the building into the relocated Head Start classroom program with a concomitant application of the percentage prorated use of utilities and other building expenses as are presently in place. The build out for the converted space would be a CIFCS cost, not the city. Please see the detail in Mr. Maloney's letter for full reference. Kindly consider this request such that any associated agreement or modification may be prepared, authorized, and executed so CIFC can commence further planning and preparation. Thank you for consideration, Mr. Maloney's request. Sincerely, Joseph M. Cabo, Mayor.
Okay, what's your pleasure? Mr. Fox? Did you have your hand up?
Yeah, Your Honor. At this time, I move to receive the communication and refer this item to an ad hoc committee consisting of Corporation Counsel, the Director of Finance, the Director of Public Buildings, and the petitioner.
Okay. Not seeing any objection. That is so moved. Item number 8 is on consent. Item number 9, Madam Clerk.
Item number 9.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you just point of order, who's going to be on that ad hoc for number 7?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Thank you, Mr. DeGiulio. Appreciate that. So that's going to be Mr. DeGiulio in the chair. It's going to be Mr. Levy, and it's going to be Mr. Santos.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, item 9, please.
Communications, supplemental funds for the Corporation Council. To Mayor Joseph Cabo through the council. Pursuant to the attached request from Corporation Council, I hereby certify the availability of funds. These appropriations will come from the assigned fund balance / litigation account 002-3700.0510. The status of the assigned fund balance account is as follows. Original amount, $675,000. The attached request, minus the attached request, $225,000, gives a balance of $450,000. Please feel free to contact me should you require any additional information. David St. Hilaire, Director of Finance.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, council? Mr. Esposito, Mr. Mike Esposito.
Thanks, Your Honor. I would like to make a motion to receive the correspondence from the Director of Finance and Corporation Counsel and approve the supplemental funds for fiscal year 2021, whose appropriations will come from the assigned fund balance. Litigation account, as said by the 002-370.051 in the amount of $225,000.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Seconded by Mr. Rotello. Under discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
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 Everybody opposed?
And so go to 11.
Everybody abstaining. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 10 is on consent. Item number 11.
Resolution 2021 Neighborhood Assistance Act. To Joseph Cowell through the city, subject to resolution. Attached for your review is a resolution that will allow nonprofit agencies through the city of Danbury to apply for inclusion in the State of Connecticut Department of Revenue Services 2021 Neighborhood Assistance Act program. This program allows businesses to sponsor approved community programs and receive tax credits for their contributions. Please note that a public hearing is required by the state of Connecticut before this resolution can be adopted. As applications are being accepted by the city until until April 8th, 2021, a list of funding requests will be provided prior to a public hearing date will be determined. Please include this item on the April 2021 City Council agenda and refer it to a public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, refer to public hearing.
Pleasure, council.
Your Honor.
Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to receive the communication and refer this for public comment and to a committee of the whole.
Seeing no objection is so moved. Madam Clerk, item number 12.
Resolution, official intent funding for general obligation funds. To Mayor Boughton, to the council, from David St. Hilaire, Director of Finance. Mayor Cabo. I said Mayor. Mayor Cabo, sorry. Connecticut House Bill number 7010, September Special Session Public Act number 20-8, Section 6, authorizes the city of Danbury to perform a project later to be known as the Danbury Career Academy Project, consisting of a facility purchase and design, build, renovate as new construction project under a pilot program to be developed by the Office of School Construction Grants and Reviews with a grant application date of October 1, 2021. Unfortunately, the city will not be able to properly prepare the application and meet the deadline unless certain outside professional services such as architect, design, appraisers, environmental, legal, etc., prior to the June referendum. The attached is a resolution of the official intent to reimburse these preliminary expenditures with the proceeds of the tax exempt bonds, and also to provide authorization up to 1.75 million for said preliminary expenditures relating to Danbury Career Academy project. The pre-authorization cap amount is appropriated from funds allocated to the city under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. Please feel free to contact me should you require any additional information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, council? Mr. DiGiulio?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I move to receive this communication and adopt the resolution of official intent to reimburse expenditures with the proceeds of tax exempt bonds and provide authorization for up to 1.75 million for said preliminary expenditures relating to the Danbury Career Academy project, with the pre-authorization cap amount to be appropriated from funds allocated to the city under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Rotello. Under discussion,
Your Honor,
Mr. Cheney's.
thank you. Either to David St. Hilaire or Antonio. So the way I understand this, I mean, the project for these expenditures need to be complete by October 31st. Is that what I'm understanding?
I'm going to let Mr. St. Hilaire take that.
This is really before the referendum. So can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes.
This really serves two purposes. For one, this is provides spending authorization so that certain preliminary work can begin now, before the referendum, because the referendum would actually give you authorization to spend as well. But no work can begin until you have the authority to spend. This provides that authority to spend. But what it also does is, when the referendum passes, that you can grab back and apply whatever you incur during this period against that referendum and use that borrowing authority there as well. So it really serves those two purposes. Now, once the referendum passes and the 30 days after that, this will no longer be in effect. So it really doesn't go until the October 1st deadline. And in fact, that October 1st deadline, that's really the state's deadline that they put in the act, but the administrative deadline is actually a month before that, and Antonio can expand upon that. So his deadline is actually much tighter than October 1st. So he needs to begin work sooner, as soon as possible. And that's why we decided we needed to do something now, so we can do this preliminary work to get the application ready. So we need to have that spending authorization. And then should the bond pass, we need to be able to pull this amount into that bond. All right, so we can also bond these funds out with it. If it doesn't pass, then we're going to use this. What's that? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
If it doesn't pass, that's why we have to designate a certain, what's the source of funds. And that source of funds is, the American Rescue Plan funds. But, the total spend on the bond doesn't change, the 99 million. Okay.
Folks, if I could just interrupt for a minute. If you're not speaking, if you could just please mute yourself, because there's some background noise that keeps popping up in, and I don't want people to.
I hear a lot of background noise. So,
right. So if you're not speaking, if you can mute, that'll be great. Mr. Cheney, are you all set?
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. So if we'd known about these expenditures, why are we doing it so close to the deadline? Why didn't we do it a month ago?
Well, for one thing, we didn't really know what the expenditures were. We're trying to get a better idea of what these might be, because you don't want to just put a number out there. You want to get a better sense of what that number might be. So, you have to do some preliminary work, get some estimates from all these different professional services out there, and that takes time. And the scope, this is a very complex project for one thing, and there's a lot of legal review. We got to make sure that we're following the proper steps and that we're doing, the timelines are, you can't do it too far in advance from the referendum either. The referendum typically says 60 days, but this will allow us 60 days from this point that we can apply any expenditures incurred from. So 60 days from the point that it's adopted, this resolution.
One more follow-up, Your Honor.
Sure.
Do we have to go out to bid for some of these expenditures?
Well, Antonio has some of these on call already, and he may have to go out on bid. It depends on if if there's purchasing requirements, you know, if he has to go through some purchasing requirements on. But chances are several of these are already on. You know, we already have met those purchasing requirements because he's done some of that preliminary work, which means we haven't incurred costs to do that. But a lot of these are going to be on call. If they're not, he'll have to put together the RFPs. But we've already gone to that process already to get to this point, to get a sense of how much it's going to be. You know, and that takes time.
Just another point of, just again, Your Honor, if I can follow up to that.
Yeah,
Would
Mr.
it be in the city's best interest to have the council waive that requirement at this point? So you wouldn't have to do that process since you have a lot of it already in hand?
Councilman Cheney's, much of that has already been done because he's already gone through that. And so we've already got the estimates to get to this point. And I think we you know, as much as we appreciate to have that waiver, if we need it, we would come right back to the council. I don't think we need it at this point, but I would, you know, suggest that maybe Antonio can opine on that as well.
And Mr. Cheney, this is just a good gap coverage. And so if we can get the bond voted through, then this really won't be necessary to do, but we wanted to just make sure that we had the coverage so we'd be able to do this, so we could keep the project moving forward.
Yeah, and this we actually have to do because it allows us to spend, and it also allows us to apply it against the referendum when it does pass. So, but we don't know exactly the amount. We estimated 1.75, and that should cover it. But we think from a purchasing standpoint, we don't think there's going to be any delay in meeting those other requirements, because really we're trying to cover the timeline between now and the 30 days after the referendum is really what we're talking about, because you need the 30 days after the referendum is voted upon, assuming it's in you know it's passed. You need the 30 days to make it effective.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks, David.
Maybe we can have Mr. Iadarola opine on this slightly. Maybe he can help shed a little more light on that. Mr. Iadarola, you on?
Sure, Mayor. David covered a substantial amount of information that I can speak to you about, and it's because him and I have been talking about this as with you for probably about a month and a half, 2 months. So we meet with the State Department of Grants every other Thursday. And this is a very unique project, never been done in the state of Connecticut. So with unique process, there's obviously no standing existing process with the state and how to proceed with a project like this. So we're literally developing that as we go through. As you all know, this is an exciting project, 80% reimbursement. Our state legislative folks did a great job. And believe it or not, as part of that legislative process, which is actually referred to in this memorandum, there is a no bid waiver that was granted to the city of Danbury. So it does waive the bidding requirements for construction when we're ready to go there. So we have finally put together what we feel is what the state requires us to go out and secure for architectural services. We now understand some of the legal work that we need to do in order to advance this project and meet the master schedule that we've been putting together for about a month and a half, almost 2 months now. So this is really, if you will, a shot in the arm to allow us to take that leap and meet the September 1st deadline. It also allows us to actually contract with some of the consultants that David put in his memorandum. As you know, the architectural services for this portion of the project could easily be about $1 million, if not just over $1 million. So we cannot make that award at the Board of Awards without having funds available to be able to legally commit to those contracts. And this allows us to do that. Allows us to do that with some environmental folks that we need to do a complete inspection of the building. It allows us to do that with some structural and building analysis. So this is that opportunity to advance all of those specialty consultants to be able to facilitate not only putting in the application in September, but also allowing David the 30-day period that he needs after the referendum passes, in addition to going out and securing the funds that he needs. Those funds don't become available the day after 30 days comes to an end. He's got to go out, he's got to shop it out. It's a very methodical process that he goes through. That could take easily another month for him to do his job properly. So this allows the bridging of all of those timeframes and meet all the requirements that we've been working with the state to do. And I could take any other questions, Mr. Chinese, that you may have.
Okay, Mr. Cheney, you all set?
I'm all set. Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks, Antonio.
Anything else on item number 12?
Your Honor?
Yeah, Mr. Palmer?
Yes, I just have a question for Ms. Aguilera.
Yeah.
Are we 100% sure that we are able to get this construction grant, or there is any doubts that we might not get it by investing this money?
Could you repeat your question, please? Are we
Yes,
100% sure?
Yeah, are we 100% sure that we are able to get this construction grant?
So Mr. Palmer, the bond is item 5 on tonight's agenda, and the council will be taking that up in the committee of the whole in a public comment session sometime in April. There's no sureties in anything. We need to wait to see if we can get the bond approved. Once the bond's approved, then we know we're going to move forward with the project. And so that it's sort of a puzzle piece. It all has to sort of come together at the same time. But the cost in this is fairly minimal, but it has to be done in order to meet the timelines. And we have to have the drawings, 30% drawings to the state. And we can't wait till June to start doing that. We have to start doing it now. And I'm going to let Antonio or David jump in. And
I mean, the deadlines are, they're tight, and we would have incurred costs no matter what to put the application together. And this really allows us to, it's a spending resolution. It allows us to incur those costs prior to a larger spending authorization, which is the referendum. And, if the referendum is not successful, then you just have the smaller cost, but you have to do the preliminary costs in order to put together the application, that's due by the end of the summer. And so and you really, there's so many tight deadlines here with the state, the referendum, and you can't wait until after the referendum is effective, which is 30 days after the vote, to begin the work, because you'll never meet the deadline at the state. Because if we're looking at a vote in mid-July or mid-June becomes effective in mid-July, that gives Antonio literally 6 weeks to pull everything together, which is you can't do it. And that's why we have to have this preliminary resolution now to give him the ability to do the basic work, put the application together.
Thank you.
Mr. Hyderol, did you want to comment on any of that?
The only thing to go back to the previous question, the beauty of what the state legislation did, as it comes down to, if you will, liability. Typically, the way our school projects work is we put an application in, We pray and hope that the state reviews it, deems it to be feasible. It then goes on what's called an eligibility list. You don't really know whether or not your project's going to be funded for another 8 to 10 months after the legislative folks actually take the bond package up for discussion and vote. The beauty of what we have here is a actual law that says Danbury is going to be doing this project. We're authorizing it, and we're going to give them 80% reimbursement on it. So that guessing game, that waiting, do we get it? Don't we get it? Oh my goodness, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Is somewhat eliminated. So the only liability we have here is to meet that application deadline. We don't meet that application deadline, we lose what could be over about $80 million. So that's the reason why it's so critical that we move ahead and we put the best application forward. It has all the details so the state can't pick it apart. And that's really what I'm moving to do for the city of Danbury here.
Right.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Tony.
there is a process that we must, through the chair, there is a process that we must follow. And this is one of the first step in the process. Well, the first step was the last September. Antonio's been going through everything up to this point. This is the next step. We need to have this as the spending authorization so he can do the preliminary work to get us to the referendum itself. And then, of course, he's got to submit the application for the state to review. As Antonio said, that uncertainty pending the approval of the referendum, that uncertainty about from the state is not, it's not uncertain. They put it in their statute, 80% to Danbury on a project up to 93 million. We're very fortunate. That typically doesn't happen. We just need to meet these deadlines and get it, knock on wood, the referendum through.
Thank you, Dave. With all this, I encourage everyone, so we go for it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. St. Clair. Thank you, Mr. Aderola. Anything else?
Mayor Calvo?
Yes, Mr. Habersack.
Okay, I'm just looking at this, like a number of us, I'm a real proponent of this career academy. It's something that's really going to be outstanding. It doesn't exist anywhere in the state. So anything that speeds up and makes more efficient the time frame and so forth of getting into this and all, given what we know about the school growing population, I think that I don't see how we can not say yes to this because I think we're all watching to see how fast are we going to be able to do this, but we want it done right. So, okay, so I obviously support this. I think it's necessary. It sounds like it gives us a little bit of a head start.
Spot on, Mr. Tabersack. Thank you very much. Any other comments on item number 12? Seeing none, I'll try your mind. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Or give me a-
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 13.
Item 13, ARPA-E, Funding Opportunity for Research and Development. Dear Mayor Cabo and City Council members, as you may know, the City of Danbury will have the first treatment plant in the United States that will have, as part of its wastewater treatment, a biodiesel plant that produces biodiesel from processing brown grease. Brown grease is very difficult to process, typically at any sewage treatment plant, and it is not easy to dispose of. It also is very expensive to dispose of this problematic grease. We were able to plan and bring this incredible and alternative energy project to Danbury by working with Yukon REA and the firm who is building our plant upgrades, Viola. REA and Yukon has a new opportunity to submit an application in the form of a technical white paper for research and development funding to further promote energy independence in the United States. and most importantly, at our wastewater treatment plant. It has been requested that Danbury participate in the submission of that white paper to ARPA-E to further develop and conduct research in the promotion of energy independence at wastewater treatment plants and could lead to potential funding of a 200 kilowatt solar PV installation on the roof of the new biodiesel plant. This 200 kilowatt system would be a 1/10 scale model for what ultimately could be a 2 megawatt system, which would take the treatment plant off the grid. Should UConn and REA be successful, we would return to the city council, for the acceptance of this offer to Danbury. Please note, there is no financial share required from the city and no commitment to purchase any future project. This simply furthers the city initiative to continuing in the development of unique green energy products that benefits the city of Danbury. Thank you for your consideration. Antonio Idarola, PE, Public Works Director and the City Engineer.
Your Honor, Warren Levy.
I said, okay, folks, this sounds like something out of Back to the Future, and we're going to have a bunch of gigawatts, and I'm not approving any resolutions for a DeLorean, Mr. Iadarola. No DeLorean requisitions. What's your pleasure, Council?
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Levy.
I make a motion to adopt and authorize the resolution agenda item 13-2 as part of the upgrade of the city's Danbury wastewater treatment plant to install a biodiesel plant as an alternate energy source and work with UConn, REA, Viola, and Advanced Research Project Agency E to plan and bring this alternative energy plant to Danbury.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Visconti. Under discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Rottello.
I want to back up a bit here. I think that I recall a year or two ago, we finalized the fog ordinance for the restaurants where they were working with us to develop systems to separate fats, oil, and greases. We had a bit of a stick in there because now we can see inside sewer pipes and we kind of can tell who's in compliance and who's not. But there was a carrot in there, and I believe this was part of that. The city would assist in helping find a final home for some of this fat, oil, and grease. And I'm guessing that this is part of that. And while I'm happy to see that the city has no financial share, I would like to put a question to you or to the Director of Public Works. REA is already, apparently, according to this, installing or is about to install or has installed a 200 kilowatt installation on the roof. And that's it says it's being constructed by REA right here at the sewer plant. Now, 200 kilowatts, that's kind of expensive. It's a 1/10 scale model, obviously, it would be scaled up to 2 megawatts. And while we're not on the hook financially for the white paper, do we have any skin in the game on the in terms of money on the 200 kilowatt installation so far? Thanks, Your Honor.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rottello. Mr. Iadarola.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Paul, the 200 kilowatt system that's in the memorandum is ultimately, if our white paper succeeds, and it's one of the best white papers to be submitted in the United States, it would be ultimately give us the funding to develop the technology and ultimately install it. So it is not currently part of our existing project right now. REA is building a biodiesel processing building, which takes the brown grease and turns it into what is B100 compliant diesel, which is the highest standard and meets all the requirements for the newer diesel trucks that we're running today. In addition to that,
He froze on my end.
Yep, he's frozen here too. Mr.
All right, if I may, Your Honor, he mentioned that this would allow us to tap into a funding stream. Where would those funds ultimately come from?
Yeah, this is Mr. Iadarola's project, Mr. O'Toole,
Okay.
so we're gonna have to try to get him back into
Okay.
into the loop here on this.
I'll yield for that. If we have to bring it back under departmental reports or something, that's fine.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Whoop, he just moved a bit. No, okay.
Yeah, you're frozen.
Okay, so any other questions on this item? Whoop. We're trying to get him back on right now. Are there any other questions on this item? Paul, are you okay with just to vote on it?
Yeah, no, I'm fine. It was sort of an offshoot anyway. It's not really germane to the white paper. So yeah, I'm fine. Thanks.
No problem. All right. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. You know, I have to tell you this, in my closer working with Antonio here in my role as mayor, he really goes out of his way to find these one-off experimental and new and innovative ways to create different things and save the city money. And it's a lot of hard work, and he does a tremendous job with it. Great job for that. Okay, item number 14.
Resolution, request for authorization to apply for corridor study grants. To Honorable Joseph M. Cabo, Mayor, from Antonio Idarola, Director of Public Works and City Engineer. On behalf of the Federal Highways and the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation, the Western Connecticut Council of Government is soliciting application from municipalities for potential roadway corridor studies. The studies shall serve as a critical step in the improvement of transportation networks. The selected project shall be funded through a discretionary surface transportation block grant, of which a 10% local match shall be required under section upon selection, excuse me. The City of Danbury Engineering Department has evaluated and determined that the White Street Newtown corridor from just west of Meadow Street intersection to the entrance of the city's Public Works complex warrants to be studied as a part of this program. The purpose is to alleviate the current and projected traffic congestion, safety concerns, and pedestrian mobility along the corridor. The estimated total cost for the study is $150,000, of which $15,000 local match funding sourced from SNAP 2020 3001-7000.0501 bond shall be required. The engineering department therefore requests the city council to authorize the mayor or Antonio Idarola, director of public works and city engineer as his designee, to apply for and accept the subject grant from the Federal Highway Administration and the Connecticut DOT for the identified project. Sincerely, Antonio Idarola, Director of Public Works and City Engineer.
Okay, what's your pleasure, council, on item number 14? Mr.
Your Honor.
Henry.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to receive the communication and adopt a resolution authorizing Joseph M. Cabo, Mayor of the City of Danbury, or Antonio Idarola, Director of Public Works and City Engineer, as his designee to apply for a grant from the Connecticut Department of Transportation for a corridor study for travel conditions along the White Street and Newtown Road corridor in the amount not to exceed $150,000, with the city match of 10% or $15,000 are to be charged to SNAP 2020.3001-700.0501 and to sign the grant application and any other documents associated with the grant if awarded.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Molinaro. Under discussion.
Your Honor.
Your Honor.
We got a bunch of folks, so let's go with Mr. Salvatore first.
I called out too, Mr. Mayor.
Yep, I I have you, Mr. Santos, and I have you, Mr. John Esposito.
Your Honor, I did have correspondence with Mr. St. Hilaire, and I understand that this is going to come out of the infrastructure part of the bond. But one of the questions I had asked and didn't get an answer, and I want to put it out here, is nobody here is going to disagree that a study should be done, because if you've driven in that area, it probably does need to be upgraded. But why are we financing $15,000? There's not $15,000 in the operating budget. Why do we have to finance such a small amount? I mean, I know we did the same thing for a bond a few months ago, for a study a few months ago, but this seems kind of a small amount to finance.
All right, fair question, Mr. Salvatore. Let's go to Mr. St. Hilaire.
Happy to answer that. Thank you. It's part of a larger project, Councilman. The larger project is, obviously, this is part of the process of doing the work on that corridor area. This is simply just a step in that process. Whether we would have had, fortunately, part of that process is we look to find grants. And if, and hopefully we get this grant. If there wasn't a grant, we'd still go through a process like this. It would be charged to, the bond, and we would move forward, and it wouldn't go to the council. But because it is a grant, it's going to the council, because we have to submit grants to the council to be approved. But the match is, we're not going to separate this cost from all the other project costs associated with this corridor project. So it's all costs related to this corridor project. So if we start separating, well, this one is kind of small, we'll never get a total cost of the project. It'll be spread across all different lines in the budget. So really, this is part of the capital costs associated with the corridor.
And just to follow up, please, and this cost you're talking about is a future cost, is it not? Isn't this study, based on the study, we would then make improvements down the road? Pardon the pun?
Yeah. Yes, we would. We would. And like any kind of analysis or study, it lays the groundwork, and no pun instead, but it lays the groundwork for the next step for us to do, what improvements to make in that road, or that, in that area, and what are the priorities for that area. So that's really what is happening here. Where the high traffic areas are, where the congestion is, and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Thanks, Mr. Salvatore. Thank you, Mr. St. Hilaire. I'm going to go to John Esposito and then to Mr. Santos immediately after. Mr. John Esposito, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is Mr. Idarola available for comment, question?
Yes, sir.
Great, thanks. Mr. Idarola, I just would like to ask you if you could just give us a brief understanding or overview of what this study hopes to accomplish and what exactly we're looking to do.
Sure.
And thank you for asking. So we have been incredibly, I'm having a little internet issue, so I want to apologize in advance, but these types of studies have successfully positioned the city of Danbury for some pretty large projects. The project that you see down by the Public Works Complex was the beginnings started with a study much like this one. The one that was done just before that at the intersection before that, coming from White Street, again, was another byproduct of a small investment. That one I think was about $10,000, but that study allowed us to actually apply for other funding, and the state who gives that funding out valued the fact that we studied the corridor. We know what our limitations are. We built stakeholders agreement, and those projects go through, and we probably got more projects in the pipeline doing this than any other community in the regional planning agency. So This project here, much like a good corridor study, it's going to take a look at major traffic generators. It's going to look at the timing of traffic lights. It's going to look at intersection capacity. It's going to look at some of the dangerous spots, and you guys all know them. There's several very dangerous intersections that during peak hours are almost impossible to get through in this corridor. And the beauty of it, this is the last piece that would connect pretty much from the front of from the front of WestCon all the way to my complex, the Public Works complex. That entire corridor would have the public improvements necessary to facilitate much better traffic movement, utilize new technology for our traffic lights. So this is a home run. As David said, I did anticipate putting some seed money together in the SNAP 2020 bond. And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're utilizing that little bit of seed money to go after grants like this at literally almost no cost to us. But the benefit that comes out of this could be a $7, $8, $10 million project by Newtown, by the Public Works complex on Newtown Road there is well into $20, $30 million. So I hope that answered your question, John.
Certainly satisfactory. Just for additional clarity, the city's cost would be $15,000 if the grant's awarded. That's correct? That's
That
great.
is correct.
Thank you again, Mr. Irola.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Irola. Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Mr. Santos.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. So the questions that I had, Mr. St. Hilaire answered as far as, why are we going to the bond money for $15,000? And Mr. Irola shed some light as well on the process there. I definitely see this as an added benefit to my ward, since most of this project will be in my ward. And like Mr. Irola said, you're connecting the project that is to begin over on the WestCon side of things with the project that's already underway near the complex there, the Public Works facilities. And that whole area, we all know, needs that kind of a new design to be able to provide the traffic improvements and safety improvements that are needed. Question, I do have an additional question. How long, if we get awarded this, Director Irola, through the chair, when do you think this could begin, or is there any kind of time frame that you've been given as far as if we were awarded, when the study would happen, and then what kind of trajectory the project may, any kind of enhancement would come after that? Did they give you any kind of outline?
Mr. Irola?
Sure, thank you. So usually we don't get a timeline related to some of these grants, and Farley, usually the process of a grant being awarded, because remember, we're going to be competing with a bunch of other communities.
Right.
We've been successful because we do a lot of our homework up front, and we usually put one of the best applications out. Again, we won the grant on studying Route 37.
Yep.
That was a competitive grant. We won that, and we've been winning them left and right. So, but the process of actually going through the competition and going through the solicitation, putting the application in, and then evaluating the actual grant could easily take 8 months to a year.
Okay.
So it's not something that moves very quick. And once the grant is actually awarded, there's an entire procurement process that we have to follow, which has got to meet all state requirements, and also ultimately negotiate a contract and have a consultant do the study. So these are not very fast-moving projects. The one that's being done right now, right in front of my complex there, is probably about 3.5 years in the making.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when you put in the application, and I wasn't even on the council then. So I remember that, and I appreciate you going after these grants because, again, it's much needed improvement that we can get some state funding or get help elsewhere, it definitely is appreciative to be able to do that. So thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Story.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. Thank you, Mr. Hydro. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 15, please.
Resolution 555 fitness grant for the fire department. To Joseph Cabo to the City Council from David St. Hilaire, Director of Finance. Attached for your review is a resolution that will allow the City of Danbury Fire Department to, excuse me, to apply for a grant and accept fitness equipment to the 555 Fitness Incorporated. Strength is our foundation grant. If awarded, the Danbury Fire Department will receive over $15,000 of fitness equipment with no local match required. The City Council is respectfully requested to consider this resolution at its next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, Council? Ms. Camisa.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the communication to allow the City of Danbury Fire Department to apply for a grant and accept fitness equipment through the 555 Fitness Inc. Strength is our foundation grant with no local match required.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Rotello. Under discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Rotello, sir.
This is a great idea. It's a no-brainer, but I did have a quick query about where the equipment would wind up. Normally, it would say New Street or 126. That's lacking in this petition, and I'm just wondering if it's going to be spread out over the houses or it hasn't even been determined yet. That's all. Thanks.
Well, I think we have Chief Ford on the line, and we can.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Yes, hi. Yes, I'm on the line. Hi,
Chief.
Councilman. Thank you for asking. This is actually part of a larger program that we're doing. Within the last year, we funded actually a physical trainer that comes into the firehouses and provides structured training for our firefighters for their health and wellness. And this equipment will be used through several firehouses. Each firehouse has a gym. Some are better stocked than others, just from over the years of acquiring things. We asked each firehouse to try and put together a list of things that they need. And we are going to target each firehouse's individual needs and try to finish out what they need in each house. And this should really just round everything out perfectly for us. We feel that since it has no matching funds, it was just a no-brainer to try and go for this.
Exactly. Thanks, Chief. Yeah, it's a great idea. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Thank you for your support.
Mr. Rotello, thank you very much. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 16, please.
Ad hoc report, Government Entities Review Board.
Okay, what's your pleasure, Council, on the reading of the minutes?
Your Honor, I move that we waive them. They're
Okay.
on file and everybody's got them.
Okay, motion's been made to waive the reading of the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. DiGiulio. Under discussion of waiving the minutes on this ad hoc committee report. Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, the ayes have it, the waiving of the reading of the report. All right, on the item itself, item number 16, what's your pleasure, Council? Mr. Priola.
Thank you, Your Honor. For this item, I'd like to receive the communication and refer this for public comment.
Okay, seeing no objections, so
Public
moved.
hearing should have been.
Item number 17, Madam Clerk.
Ad hoc report, property lease, the airport, at the airport. It's from J. Earl Associates.
Okay, what's your pleasure on the reading of the report, Council?
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. DiGiulio.
I make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes as everybody has a copy.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded by, who got that? Mr. Perkins? I think Mr. Perkins got that one. Okay, under discussion on the waiving of the reading of the minutes. Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so the motion to waive the reading of the report has passed unanimously. Back to the main item, the property lease at the airport, J. Earl Associates. What's your pleasure, counsel?
Your Honor.
Mr. Fox.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I move to receive the ad hoc committee report and adopt the recommendation of the committee to authorize the assignment of the lease between the City of Danbury and J. Earl Associates Condominium LLC dated February 3rd, 2003 to J. Earl Associates Condominium, Inc., conditioned on the procurement of an independent real estate appraisal to be paid for by the lessee, which appraisal shall be used to establish a revised final amount acceptable to the city, all in accordance with lease addendum paragraph 6 for the balance of any terms of the lease agreement. Such revised rent to be adjusted subsequently pursuant to addendum paragraph 12.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Visconti. Under discussion.
Your Honor,
Mr. Rottello.
through the chair to council to Director Pinner.
Mr. Pinter. I'm going to mute my microphone because he's in the same room as I am, so we're going to.
Okey doke. This will be brief. Les, we're going to send this out basically to get an assessment. And I'm just wondering if the assessment is substantially different from what the past one was. I would have a hard time, foreseeing that it wouldn't be different. And the lease rate needs to be adjusted accordingly. Do you think that this should come back to the council, or was it already planned to come back to the council for a final disposition if that number fluctuates in a relatively substantial degree?
Councilmember Rottello, good question. We don't know what the appraisal will come in as. Right now, the revised appraisal is under order by the owner. He agreed to get it and pay for it. And we agreed to use the same company that determined the appraisal back in 2003, given that the firm is not beholden to anybody that we know of. My understanding is that when this firm did the appraisal in 2003, the actual rent was actually higher than the rental proposed based on that appraisal at that time. There's no real way to know what the number will be. We don't expect there to be either a substantial decrease or a substantial increase. We do assume that because of the passage of time, there'll be a reasonable adjustment. If there's no reasonable adjustment and we cannot agree, then we would likely return for some other modification of the lease, which then would go to the council to make that determination. But the appraisal will yield the answer that we're looking for. And then I think as indicated at the ad hoc session, we left the option for people to discuss the results of the appraisal and then make some determinations that would be reasonable. So if it were really unusual, Paul, we would suggest a return to the council.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks, Your Honor.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Rottello. Thank you, Mr. Pinner. Okay, any other questions on item number 17? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to department reports.
Your Honor,
Mr. DeGiulio.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of these reports as everybody has a copy and copies are on file at the Legislative Assistance Office.
Second. Made and seconded by Ms. Camisa. Under discussion of department reports.
Your Honor.
Mr. Rottello.
Yeah, through the chair to the Director of Public Works. Antonio, I just wanted to give you a chance to finish your comments. You froze up there for a bit, and if you had anything you wanted to add to that, and specifically you had mentioned, he's still on, right? I don't actually
Yeah, he's
see
on.
him.
He's
Yeah,
on.
okay. You had actually mentioned that there was the white paper was going to lead to a funding stream. I was a little bit curious as to what that would be. So if you wouldn't mind, you can finish your comments.
no.
I'd like to hear them.
No, yeah, and apologize. I don't know why tonight I'm having a little bit of an internet connection issue, but, yeah, the most important thing with this, application and what you guys ultimately, authorized, to do is, we're going to be competing, for an opportunity, to have the federal government provide us some money to study the development of technology that doesn't currently exist. One of those studies will be how to generate electricity from firing off of generators that are going to be burning biodiesel fuel. The interesting part is biodiesel fuel is not considered a product.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Antonio,
2.
hands up again.
He just doesn't want to answer this question.
Yeah, Your Honor, we'll take care of this offline, but maybe,
right.
I mean, maybe at some point in the future, we could have a more detailed examination. I mean, you know, one of the issues would be, if I may, but listen, I'll save it for later. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. O'Toole. I appreciate your cooperation in that. Okay, anything else under department reports?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a question for Chief Ridenour, if possible.
Okay. Chief Ridenour?
Thank you, sir. Chief, first of all, I just want to commend you for hiring 4 new officers. We passed it tonight, and especially when we're hiring local Danbury people. As a proponent and advocate for community policing or stronger community policing, it's great to see local folks here in Danbury that are, grown, raised, go through our public schools, be hired as police officers here. I think it's only a benefit to our community. So thank you for that. And second, I just wanted to touch base with you. I think Director Prunty is not on today, but what kind of, is she there?
Who's at a clinic?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see her. So maybe to both of you, what kind of protocols go into place when there is a major disruption in a place that could be a potential COVID situation or guidelines that aren't being followed? And I'll preface my question with saying that, we had an issue in the 4th Ward this weekend that many constituents reached out to me about. I saw it myself. And it just didn't seem like the proper protocols at a business were being followed. Tons of cars parked out in the street. So I just wanted to know from both of you, what steps are taken then? The police get contacted? Do you just shut it down, or does the health department have to come out? Just trying to figure out what steps have to be taken, because I'm not sure what happened this weekend.
Okay. So Mr. Santos, let's direct that to the Director of Healthcare, Prunty. And then if there's something the chief can back up that with, we'll get to him after that.
Thank you, Mayor. I hadn't seen Kara on the list in here. So.
Yeah, 3 schemes running, Mr. Santos.
Got it.
Kara?
Hi, everyone. Yes, so if there's an issue over the weekend, we have our online form that we do check all weekend, and we do have inspectors. We always have an on-call inspector. So if there's an issue, we can have someone go out. We also are doing compliance checks. I think that if I'm thinking of the issue that you're referring to, the first notification that my department got of that was at 8:17 on Monday morning. So that's the first time that we knew about it. You can always call 311. You can issue something through on our website that the 311 person knows to contact our health department, because we do have an on-call person at all times. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the things that you can do to reach out if you think that there's an immediate issue that needs to be addressed at that time.
Okay, Kara, if you don't mind, I'll connect with you offline on this as well. Sure. But, and Mr. Mayor, just to give some kudos to Ms. Prunty, I was able to get my shot on Saturday. Someone termed it as controlled chaos where she was working, but she was bouncing around and doing, all the things that she needs to do. But it was such an orderly process, and people were in line, people were getting checked in, people were getting signed up for their next shot. And kudos to Councilman Salvatore, who will be too humble to say, but he was volunteering there as well. It was an awesome process, and she's doing a great job, her and the whole team at the health department, getting folks vaccinated. So kudos to you, Kara, and all the work that you and your team are doing. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Santos. I appreciate that. And I will tell you, and I will tell all the council folks, this office gets a tremendous amount of complaints about just about anything on the spectrum. But the one thing I will tell you is I do not get complaints about the Rogers Park Clinic. I do not get complaints about the way it's run. I do not get complaints, anything involved with it. I was at the clinic as well on Saturday, and it was running as it has every time that I've stopped by to see how things were going, just very smooth and methodical. And we had a great bunch of volunteers down there. They're doing just a great job, and we appreciate everybody's effort. Mr. Salvatore, thank you for volunteering your time. I was walking in, I saw you walking out, but you were too far away from me. I didn't want to shout at you, but I did see you leaving when I was walking in. So thank you to Karen and her team again. I say thank you continuously to them for the great job that they're doing here in the city of Danbury for our residents. So thanks very much. Anything else under department reports? Mr. Taversack?
Yes, I asked Kara, I'm very much concerned with the homeless in Danbury. I think you know that. So Kara, how many people now are in the shelter? We're still at around 78 or so?
I believe it's 72, and we are at 84 people that have been housed.
Yeah, and I know I talked to you before, and I asked, there's a big grant that's running out, right? It was up over a year and all that's running out, I think in June 30th, we said. And you explained to me that it usually is pretty automatic, but just could you tell us where that grant is, how it's being used in the Super 8? And what, if you can also then tell me that who else is involved in the cost of the operation? Maybe David could answer that one. And I'm also concerned, what's the situation right now with the negotiations for the purchase of the motel? So I'm asking both of you these questions.
You can answer some of that as well, Mr. Taversack. So
all right, thank you.
I'll let Kara take the first part.
Sure, I can talk to you about the grant. The grant that we had was over 2 years. Most of that money, I believe it's actually fully expended. I believe we've already spent all of that money. That majority of those funds go to paying for staff time. So that the State Department of Housing grants that we have, those would go towards staffing costs. And, Dave can chime in too, but the additional staff costs that we have, that is being reimbursed through FEMA. So those costs can be applied to FEMA. And then for the negotiations and more detailed about our finances, I'll defer to the mayor and David St. Hilaire.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Mr. Taversack, I can tell you that we have moved much closer towards the State and Pacific House closing on the Super 8 motel. And we think that it could possibly, most probably will happen by the end of this month.
Okay.
So that
Good
is
news.
Moving forward. Yeah, it's great news. And we're very excited about it. Very excited to have that plan move forward. And so I don't know if that answers your question on that. I don't know if you had another question for Mr. St. Hilaire or if you were okay there.
Oh, no, it's fine. What you're saying will take care of the question is, okay, is this going to go on beyond, the pandemic time period?
Right.
But if the deal goes through, it looks like it'll be a permanent solution to a major problem.
Right.
It'll be good.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Taversack. I appreciate it. Mr. Salvatore.
No.
Yeah, I wanted to say to Kara, what I saw on Saturday was amazing. Everybody did a really good job, especially with the fact that they were faced with about 30 to 35 people in line some of whom told one of your workers they were there since 6 o'clock because somebody put on Facebook that it was free vaccinations down at Rogers Park. So you guys really did a great job. And Mr. Mayor, when does she get rid of the acting title? Because anybody who runs a department like that as well shouldn't be acting, should be the director.
Right.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr.
I don't think
Self,
she's
for
qualified.
everything. I have every plan, and Sarah has her schooling done to make that move forward, but we have to wait until she has her degree in order to move that forward. And so, and I've already told Sarah that I would be moving that forward as soon as she was ready. So it's not a holdup on our end. It's just a matter of timing. It was laid out early on in the process. We knew it was going to happen, and we're just waiting for that to come to fruition, and we'll be moving forward on that. And appreciate that. Mr. Molinaro.
I'd like to offer my help to Kara to finish that course. If she needs any help, I'll write something for her.
Listen, I need a paper written too, Mr. Molinaro. So
Listen, I've written many excuses over my years, so just be another one.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Molinaro. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick statement for Chief Rittenhour and possibly a question at the end. I read in the paper last month, beginning of the week, middle of the month in March, there was a substantial drug bust. You probably wonder, like many of us, that it's a tough lesson for some that you can't come around here, like that with that whole drug outfit. The taxpayers know it, the residents know it, and the community doesn't want it. So my question through the chair, Chief Rittenhour, is there anything that this body can do to help bolster your department's efforts and community policing and engagement?
Thank you, Councilman. No, it's a very good question. I mean, right now, I would just say, our budget is out there. Just, keep supporting us the way that you've been supporting us. As far as outreach goes, COVID has kind of really slowed a lot of the activities that we've done for outreach. But as soon as they start back up again, we will reach out to you. And if there's areas that you could fit in and assist us, I'll definitely be calling upon you.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Tell the whole gang, Williams and all, that we appreciate all those services. Thank you.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Thank you, Mr. Rittenhour, Chief Rittenhour. Mr. Chinese.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, kudos to Karen and everyone else in the Public Works Department. You guys do a great job. But I just wanted to follow up, Your Honor, to something you said earlier in the meeting regarding the collection of the dumpsters. And it brought to my mind is the Memorial Day Parade, which is May 31st. I may be jumping the gun a little bit, but is that going to happen or not? Do you know anything more at this point?
Not too early, I think.
I'm sorry, I got pulled off here for a second. Was that question to me?
Yes, it'd be, or to Parks and Rec. The Memorial Day Parade, is that going to happen?
No, that's not going to happen, Mr. Chinese. The Veterans Council had decided about a month ago, due to the COVID situation, that they are not going to conduct the Memorial Day Parade this year.
Okay, I figured that, but I know the governor mentioned about waiving that we can have parades, and that just brought it to my mind.
Right.
Okay.
And I think in their planning stage about a month ago, because it takes so much time for them to ramp up and book all the bands and get everything done, they needed to know a month ago their decision. And I supported them. I told them I would support them in whatever decision they wanted to make.
Thank you. My other question is to Antonio. I guess my favorite question, our paving. When do we start to rev up again?
Mr. Genesi,
I am excited and waiting for the plants to open as you are. If anybody is driving down Grant Street, you will see our contractor started to mobilize. We have a bunch of roads ready to go. We hope to have the first truck in line to grab the asphalt and start putting it down. We are in the process of awarding our contract with the paving company, which was the low bidder. And that takes quite a bit of time to vet out, references to check. And we're in the process of doing that. Our goal is, as the plant opens up, to be ready to actually build a schedule and start knocking off these roads that we've been anxiously looking to do. So thank you for asking.
No, but let's hope Sawmill Road's on that, right?
Okay,
And I have one more question for Antonio, just really quick, if I may.
sure. Please proceed, Mr.
The work on Newtown Road, you mentioned that earlier. What's going on with that? Because there has been nothing going on there for the last few months.
So, Mr. Chinese, I'm glad to report that that's not a City of Danbury project. It is a project that is, and I only say that because all I have is vivid memories of North Street and the calls that we got day in, day out. The mayor's office, everybody that traveled that road got the same calls. Yeah, they're in the middle of sort of a winter shutdown, which happens with state contracts. You'll watch them gear up probably the end of April really hard. And I don't know if you noticed, they're out there establishing some survey work to initiate and kick off the start of that work. But once they get going, they got a very good contractor. Once they're going, I think we're going to be fine, and we'll see a completion hopefully right around the fall.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cheese. Thank you, Mr. Iderola. Anything else under department reports? Okay, seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of accepting the department reports, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, the ayes have it. The department reports are accepted unanimously. There's no other business to properly come before us tonight, and so I'm going to name the budget committee for 2021. And if you have a pen and paper, I'll try to go a little bit slower so we can get the names. On General Government 1. We have Mr. Knapp in the chair, Ms. Camisa, Mr. Bezade, Mr. Perkins, and Mr. John. On General Government 2, we have Mr. Fox in the chair, Mr. Knapp, Mr. Palma, Mr. Salvatore, and Mr. Alves. On Public Works, we have Mrs. Stanley in the chair, Mr. DiGiulio, Mr. Henry, Mr. Tabersack, and Mr. Chianese. On the Health, Housing, and Public Safety, we have Mr. Priola in the chair, Mr. DiGiulio, Mr. Mike Esposito, Mr. Rotello, and Mr. Santos. And on Education, we have Mr. Levy in the chair, Mr. Fox, Mrs. Stanley, Mr. Molinaro, and Mr. Visconti. And those will be your budget committees for this budget. I will extend all other committees at this time, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Rotello, seconded by Ms. Camisa. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Folks, thank you very much. Look forward to working with you throughout this month, and appreciate all your time and effort anticipated that you'll be putting into this budget, and we'll see you soon. Oh, one more very important thing. We're going to do a bond workshop on the 12th of April at 6 p.m. And so you can be at that workshop on a Zoom. We'll try to get all your questions answered Any questions you might have, we can answer there. We can answer questions ahead of time. We can answer questions after the bond workshop, but you'll all be invited to that and hope that you'll all have the time and opportunity to attend because it should prove to be extremely informative. I'm bringing the committee in, the building committee in, so that they can answer your questions. Board of Ed will be there. Dr. Sal will be there, and we'll hopefully get all your questions answered so we can move forward in May.
Point of order, Your Honor. One quick thing, Your Honor.
Mr. Chini's?
Yeah, the budget books. So we're going to get budget books or they're
Yep,
just
they'll
strictly?
be delivered tomorrow. They were printed and they'll be delivered by constable to your houses tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and you should also be getting a PDF file from the finance department for a trial run to see if folks might be interested in doing the PDF versions down the road instead of us spending the money on printing the paper it's required to make budget books. So if you're super computer savvy and you want a PDF file only, we can do that next year. But we're going to give you both options this year so you can experiment with them and see how you like it. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night.